GM, this is Morning Markets. It is Friday, the 12th of September. So, what have we seen in the market? So, on Wednesday, we got the close above last week's high. That's what I told you all to look out for. That leads to bullish momentum higher, and that's exactly what we got on Thursday. We closed above the value area low, which is the next level to flip and hold for bulls. So, zooming in to lower time frames here, go to something like the 4 hour. Notice how the support resistance played out beautifully. Once, twice, we flipped and held this level, as I said we should, because this consolidation shouldn't need to be revisited so soon after breaking through it if demand is strong. So far so good. That CPI dip finished right at that support resistance level and led to new highs. So what we want to see from here? Well, Bitcoin has took some liquidity and so far rejected in the early hours this morning, so could potentially see a sell-off here. And what you want to look for as a bull is, first of all, you want to see this value area low hold. That would be the most bullish scenario here. If you remember from trade of the week on the weekly ledger, we have two scenarios where either if we start closing below the value area low, that could trigger a short back down to some of these lower support levels. But if we can flip and hold the value area low, that sets up a trade through a range to those upper levels. So you really want to watch on Bitcoin here. Can we hold this 12 and 21 trend as we have since we broke the SR level? So far, it doesn't look like it wants to hold. It's produced new highs each time, but now it looks like we're bleeding into it. Therefore, you want to watch this H150 EMA. If this can hold on any dip and we reclaim the value area low, that could create a good setup towards at least these highs, if not some upper levels in the range like the POC. You really want to see that value area low get respected, if so, on the reclaim. However, if we lose this H150 EMA, then we probably bounce again at this support resistance level. But I'd be more inclined to think that's a lower high, and then we go lower and attack some of the liquidity levels, rejecting anywhere around that value area low there. And if that happens, you've of course got a bunch of liquidity built up here in this chop zone, and at worst case, even below 110. And you've got to be open for all scenarios here. Because yes, we're on a daily. We're seeing some early sell-off here. New York session's not begun, so that could all change very quickly. You want to watch this close, but you really don't want to see today retrace yesterday's candle. That would be a sign of weakness as it invalidates yesterday's moves so quickly. Demand is weak and sellers are overpowering then, which likely leads to price closing back below last week's high and then coming towards 110k. So watch out for that. Those are the levels to hold for bulls. And of course, you're tempting a 12 and 21 crossover here. That will be seen today. So all eyes on today's New York session and the close. You really want to see that H1 trend respected and the value area low reclaimed for bulls. But of course, all the fun and excitement has been in altcoins. As I said, Bitcoin reclaiming these levels sets up for your strong altcoins that I put you guys on to have some big rallies. And well, what have we seen? Solana has had a beautiful move overnight, coming right up to that 240 level. Not quite hit it yet. So trade setups playing well on Solana. I know a few of you have messaged me who also took the trade setup. So GM to that. Lovely move, showing its outperformance that I said was likely. Look to the weekly. You've seen a big weekly candle here on Sol. I said after these fake outs, not once, twice, three times, Sol was setting up for a big move higher. And that's exactly what we got this week. I noticed the outperformance. That's what you have to do. You have to look at relative strength between your altcoins to see where flows and money is rotating. And then when you take your long setup, you pick the strong ones. Of course, you could have picked ETH here. And look at that weekly candle. The difference between choosing to long ETH, whereas choosing to long Sol, is a matter of 3R, 4R gains here. So 4 times potentially more gains. So it's very important coin selection, not just whether you choose to long or short, as you want to long the outperformers, not the laggards. And that's set up nicely here on Sol. Of course, we are now heading into resistance levels, and we have had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, potentially 6 daily green candles in a row. So it's the same for Sol. Whether it's today, whether it's tomorrow, whether it's Sunday, I don't want to see this green candle fully retraced, or I don't want to see, obviously today, this would be very bearish, yesterday's candle retraced. So you're really wanting to mark out all of the candle lows of the previous day going forward. Of course, weekend price action is less reliable, but in the trading weeks, you don't want to see Friday's candle fully retraced, and you don't want to see that fully retraced on the weekend either. Otherwise, that is going to be a show of weakness here. So managing this Sol trade, looking at a couple things. I want to see these H1, 12, and 21 bands hold, because if we are going to just continue higher and smashing on, well, that will be shown through trend respect on the H1, 12, and 21 EMA. As I mentioned, once you got that daily close confirmation, which was over here, as you can see, we closed above the high. I told you all to look for the H1, 12, and 21 bands to provide trend support on Sol, and that's exactly what happened. Since that daily close, the bands have supported, led to new highs each time, so you want to see that continue. Whereas if we start breaking structure, if we actually start bleeding over the weekend and close below this wick, well, I would look to get out of this Solana trade there. And of course, if we have a sweep above the high and close back inside, that would also trigger an early exit signal for me. So that's what I'm watching. Ideally, the trends remain respected on the H1, and we can continue just building new highs. But if we see a sweep and reclaim back inside the range, or if we see this level lost, then I would look for early exits. So that's how I'm going to play it on Solana. When it comes to Ethereum, what are we seeing here? So we're trying to close above the high of all this chop. So that is 4.5K. You want to see the candle close above there today. If we don't close above there, then that likely sets up for a move lower as you build a trap for bulls who get excited and try to long a breakout early. They then get flushed down and liquidated. And maybe that comes with the 50-day EMA holding as support. Maybe that comes with a retest of the daily market structure level before reclaiming. I don't know, but either scenario, watch for trend respect on the 50-day or the reclaim of the market structure level if we sweep below. So that's what I'm looking for. Of course, if we can close above this level, then that sets up for potentially a move up towards this range resistance. Whether it breaks out or not, I don't know. ETH's not really in favor right now, as you can see, but that's what you want to look for price to start building positive structure again, a close above this high today. So looking at the rest of the market, looking at gold. So what did we see? Well, I told you all, if gold starts consolidating, that's going to allow Bitcoin to run, and that's exactly what has happened. And if gold just continues consolidating anywhere above this order block, that's going to be bullish for Bitcoin. You don't want to see it lose the order block, because then gold's going down, and gold and Bitcoin move together over a long period of time. It's just they have different cause and effect. When gold trends, Bitcoin consolidates, and of course, when gold consolidates, Bitcoin trends. So that's what you want to see. You don't want to see gold downtrend, as then you could see Bitcoin actually break down as well. So gold's playing out nicely, consolidating there, allowing Bitcoin to move as expected. Now, trade on stocks. So looking at the S&P 500 futures here, I told you guys this week, look for price to get above this blue box. That's going to set up continuation higher. And well, that's exactly what happened here. Started closing above this blue box, and the H1 50 EMA held as the trend support throughout on multiple occasions. So you had one dip here, two dips here, produced the new high, So now you just want to see that hold, should lead to new highs. If it rejects, then watch out for price to come back in this box, as that could lead to a flush back towards the all-time high, which would not be optimal for risk assets. You want to see stocks continuing higher, because that's going to signal that risk appetite in the market is still solid, and then you're going to get these good moves across the market. So that's it for stocks. Not sure why that chart is lagging there, but that is really the full update. Go back to that chart. So just watching this all-time high level on the higher time frame above there is solid, and on the low time frames, watch your H1 trend to stay intact. So looking at the order flow a little bit deeper here on Solana, because of course that is the trade setup I mentioned in the last couple of days. So let's analyze this a little further towards the end of this morning market. So what are we seeing? Price is up 3%. Open interest is up from the same point 3.7%. So we're starting to see a little bit of chasing into this move on Solana. So we're entering obviously the parabolic phase on the H1 on the 15-minute time frame, where we've seen this huge move overnight, which could lead to some sort of dip and consolidation here if longs get too excited. Throughout the move, you had negative funding, which was super bullish in an uptrend, because that means spot are most likely dominating and having a constant bid throughout the rally. But now you're seeing futures and leverage take over, which is good if price can stay consolidating, let's say within this box. You can have a little sweep below as long as it reclaims. If I find the tool, where is the brush? Here, so if we see something like that, but it reclaims, that's all good. That's good consolidation. That's all you need. But if we start losing the consolidation, well, then all of these longs start getting under pressure. Their stop losses are going to be around all of these levels under these order blocks here, and you could see a further flush on Solana. So that's what to look for. You want to see this consolidation respected. Futures can lead. It can lead to price still going higher, but that is what is key. Price needs to be going higher. So that's it for the markets. Watch your daily closes. Also, watch your weekly closes. So coming into Sunday now, we are in September, which is typically a choppy month, and we have had an initial uptrend with September the 1st really marking the bottom. So it's yet to be seen whether that is the bottom. As you know from my September analysis, the September low tends to hold, so we need to let the rest of September play out. And what could catch out a lot of people is if we do retrace, let's say, yesterday's candle, that is going to be a show of weakness and probably leads to either a lower high forming, or maybe that is a sweep. I'm not sure. But as we head into the FOMC week, all you want to see is Bitcoin to build some higher low. And that would be bullish structure going into it. And that sets up for a sustainable rally. So even if we do invalidate the H1 trends, those lower time frame trends, just want to see support get built with a higher low on the daily time frame in the coming days. And then in the coming weeks, look for wherever your September low is. I don't know if it's in now or if it has to make a new low, but that tends to hold and set up your swing trades, which could be triggering now if we get a nice daily close today and those 12 and 21 bands flip. So that's the full update from me. I'll see you guys in the next one.